For those of you who had the misfortune to hear me 2 weeks ago, Henry, you've got to shut up. A friend of mine who decided to give up work and save bears, polar bears, brown bears, every bear you can possibly imagine. It's cost a fortune. She's one of the only ladies I know that has broken barriers, broken countries' rules and regulations, and they've had bears come from Russia into parts of Europe that they don't speak to. She's had countries not talk, and yet she's been able to go in and get a bear out and save it. And then somehow she met one of the most influential people to do with North Pole and polar exploration. And of course, one of the most famous bears that we all love is in danger of extinction, which is the polar bear. The polar bear is in extinction status because mankind is doing some shitload of shit up north and wrecking the ice, along with this so-called theory of the, what do you call it? Global warming. So I'm going to give you a serious bit first. And this lady asked me to write a story. Now, being the sort of person that I am, and I'm an egg, as you know, the egg is Henry. Henry has a friend called Shelly, who I performed 2 weeks ago. And because we were going to the North Pole, and we actually did go to the North Pole, we had to have a guide who was called Eggskimo Joe. And these three characters, and you can see in the back of this book, went to the North Pole. So I decided, how do you save the world? Here is the serious bit first. A word from our sponsors, Polar Bears. Polar bears, the ultimate climate specialists, once ruled their frozen landscape unchallenged. And from just coming back from Japan, they are now an important indicator of the changing health of the Arctic ecosystem. Meanwhile, back in Birmingham, an important symbol of the climate change throughout the world. Some estimate that the population may decline by as much as 2/3 by 2050, or 10 to 9 as we like to know it. And as the bears are unable to feed adequately and reproduce, this is a serious problem. Every year between October and January, the largest carnivores on land travel vast distances in search of food from the tundra to the frozen Arctic. And every year they wait for the pack ice to form on the sea to reach the seals that will sustain them throughout the next lean summer, and every year they have to wait a little longer. House the Bears brings together people and organisations to create local solutions and raise global awareness, education projects, conservation programmes, research and population monitoring. It's a lot of hard work. These activities help to promote a change in the cultural perceptions and the practices to help save an endangered and noble species. So taking the serious side, I decided to write a book with my great friend Gary Craven, did all the illustrations, and we called it The Adventures of Dan Bear, starring Henry, Shelley, Eggskimo Joe, and the special guest appearance of Planet Earth, written by me. Once upon a time, there was a lot of ice. Actually, there was a whole continent made of ice. And on the ice, there was a bear called Dan, some eggs called Henry, Shelley, and Eggskimo Joe, and believe it or not, a pole. One day, the pole began to vibrate, ever so slowly at first. Then it shook, and it shook, and it shook, and it creaked, and it stopped. The pole did creak, the pole did shake. Did it break? Not yet. Dan Bear was out on his skates looking for fish, and he came across a hole in the ice, and was sitting beside the hole was Eggskimo Joe. "Shh," said Joe. "I'm fishing." Dan, for a bear, was perplexed. "What is an egg doing fishing on my ice?" The pole did creak, the pole did shake, but did it break? Not yet. So the sun shone on Henry as he sat on the deck chair enjoying the winter break, and Shelley was sipping an Ice Mary through a giant straw. She slurped divinely on the crushed ice, the cranberry juice, and the touch of snowflake drink, when suddenly Dan Bear whizzed by rather too fast on his skates, waving madly, and before he knew it, he hit the pole rather too hard for his liking. The pole did creak, and the pole did shake, but did it break? Not yet. The pole made a funny noise, and a crack appeared in the ice, and slowly it grew and grew and grew, and the huge chunk snapped off and fell into the sea. And Henry, Shelley, and Dan Bear were sent flying into the air. "Woo!" cried Shelley. eggs on ice. I don't think it'll take off. And as they all came to a stop in the snow, the pole wobbled and wibbled and moved again. The pole did creak and the pole did shake. But did it break? Not yet. Eggskimo Joe heard the noise and was not amused. His fishing trip was ruined and he stormed off to his igloo. This is not the way they should act in a special place on earth, said Eggskimo Joe. Then all of a sudden his house slid sideways near to the sea. Oh no, he cried, looking very frozen with fear. My home is slip-sliding away. The pole did creak and the pole did shake, but did it break? Not yet. Henry slid over to the igloo and he knocked on the door. I'm not in, said the door rather loudly. Can't you see this is a disaster in the making? Henry looked puzzled and perplexed. The pole did creak, the pole did shake, but did it break? Not yet. Suddenly, a knocking sound came from the pole. Hello, it said. Is there anyone up there? Does anyone speak penguin? Henry, Shelly, Dan, and Eggskimo Joe looked on in amazement. What's that? The pole spoke again. Hello, hello, I'm down here. The pole did creak, the pole did shake, but did it break? Not yet. Now everyone knows that there's no such thing as a pole that goes through the earth. But the wind blew, the ice flew, and the storm grew. And the temperature was very, very, very cold, and then all of a sudden Dan began to dance around the pole. Hey, look at me, he said. I'm pole dancing, you might say. The pole did creak and the pole did shake, but did it break? Not yet. Eggskimo Joe thought and thought, and then he came up with the answer. I have some ice glue in my igloo. So he swished the whole lot over the ice and waited to see his results. And Henry said it wouldn't work, and he moved over the glue and got stuck on the ice. Oh no, I'm stuck. Shelly glared and was furious, but being the greatest singer around, began to hit the high C's. The ice broke into 1,000 pieces, and Henry was shot into the clear blue sky. The pole did creak, the pole did shake, but did it break? Not yet. Dan Bear was very afraid. His land was breaking up. The sun was shining, but his heart was breaking. He reached for the pole, he shook it hard. The ice grew thin, the crack grew larger, and nobody knew what was going on. The pole did creak, the pole did shake, but did it break? Not yet. And then the sea began to flood the ice, and the eggs and the bear were very scared, and the igloo sank into the sea, and the earth began to shake. Oh no, they all cried out. What can we do? The earth did creak, the earth did shake, but did it break? Not yet. Thank you. Worth £6, I tell you. £6 if you want one. First edition, only 50 copies. Thank you very much.